Hi, welcome to Ladies of Another View. I'm Beck, and I'm here today with Jan and Mary.
Hello.
Just the three amigos today. But we have plenty to fill in today. Coming up in the next segment, we're going to have Noelle Mering. And she's written on theology of the home, which is interesting. We'll talk about that later. She's also the author of an upcoming book, Awake, Not Woke, a Christian response to the cult of progressive ideology. So much to talk about there, but right now I want to talk about President Biden telling Americans that maybe, if we're really good this Independence Day, we can have small gatherings. What do you think of that?
I think that he's taken things to a level that I never expected them to go to, even though he was trying to cancel, well, it's cancel culture, cancel Trump, cancel freedoms, pick one. I think it is just ridiculous that we're even listening at all anymore.
Well, I don't know that he understands what Independence Day
Yes.
means. It's about being independent, and last I heard, we are independent. We
There
are
you go.
celebrating the 4th. We did last year, although Mandan, one of the top 10 places in the nation on 4th of July, did cancel the parade last year. They are on full force for this year, and there's usually between 30 and 50,000 people that swarm the streets, and so we're looking forward to it, but I don't think President Biden will be in the area. I don't even know if he was invited. I don't think he was invited, so.
I don't think he knows we weren't waiting for the memo.
Right.
We weren't waiting for permission. We've been meeting. But this is what he said. I'm just going to read this quickly. He said, there's a good chance you and your family and friends can get together in your backyard or in your neighborhood and have a cookout or a barbecue and celebrate Independence Day.
Notice how he spelled neighborhood? It's like French. That's the French or isn't that with the O-U-R? Go ahead.
Well, who knows? Because I don't think he speaks for himself. So maybe, who knows where that came from. After a long, hard year, that will make this Independence Day truly special, where we not only mark our independence as a nation, but we begin to mark our independence from this virus. No, we are independent. Hello. So apparently they did not get permission. They were turned down in South Dakota to have fireworks in Mount Rushmore. Have you ever seen the fireworks? I was there 1 year.
Well, I
At
saw
Mount
them on
Rushmore?
television last year when President Trump was there.
Okay.
I mean, it was so phenomenal.
Spectacular.
Yeah,
It
I
is.
mean, and they do have some there on other occasions as well, and we've been to South Dakota when that's happened. And it's fabulous. It's goosebump material.
It is. I've been there, and they play music the whole time. And so I just wanted to give you a little clip so you can see kind of what it looks like. So that's a little taste. Am I the only one that had goosebumps?
No, not
Here's
at
the deal.
all.
If I can just say, I love fireworks, and I love Mount Rushmore. The first time I ever saw it, I was in my early 20s, came around a hill, and all of a sudden I didn't know exactly where it was going to be, and I had tears in my eyes.
Oh, for
Absolutely, because it is that majestic. If you have never taken the kids or anyone there, it doesn't matter what age you are, get there. But speaking of fireworks behind there, I always worry, and maybe because that's what I do, I worry, that too much of that fireworks is going to start blowing chips off. And I don't know, I'm sure, an engineer has already figured this part out, but I'm really worried because I want that to last forever, and I'm thinking fireworks behind it. So I am kind of sort of okay with them not having fireworks
But
there.
it's not as close as it seems,
I was
of
just gonna
course.
say,
And the
yeah.
other concern is fire danger. So actually, last year was the first time since 2009 that they did have fireworks when Trump was there.
Okay.
So that was mentioned, but the National Park Service said no fireworks, and Governor Kristi Noem says we are not going to give up. We're going to still try to have fireworks. But I have a little clip from her. And she is such an independent governor. She represents what Independence Day is about.
Love her.
She's so sensible, though. She's not just radical. She's sensible. And she was on Fox News just a couple days ago, so I took out a couple of my favorite parts of it.
Well, we just consistently focused on what we knew about the virus, the science of it, the fact that our kids needed to be in school to learn. You know, when kids weren't in school, we saw that they were only achieving about 70% of normal in reading, only about 50% of normal in math, that was going to be detrimental to them long term, and their risk to the virus was much lower than it would be for older individuals that had health conditions. So evaluating all of that, free of fear, free of emotion, helped us to make the best decision for our kids. And Trey, that's what shocked me the most, was how the media would use fear to push an agenda during this pandemic. They used it to control people, and that is really what has been a grave disservice to the public. We also have the lowest unemployment rate in the nation. We have the least amount of jobs lost during this pandemic, least amount of hours lost, least amount of wages lost. People are moving to South Dakota in overwhelming numbers. Our real estate market has gone crazy. We're seeing historic revenues come into state government because of sales tax dollars of people doing very well because they've been able to keep their businesses open and provide for their families. And we're moving businesses to South Dakota in overwhelming numbers. I could triple the size of my economic development department, and we can't answer the phone for all the people who want to come to South Dakota because they recognize that the government here respects their freedom, that we don't have leaders here that overstep their authority in a time of crisis, and they want that kind of certainty in their lives.
So I think Trey Gowdy was actually practicing to be on Mount Rushmore. He was just stone cold, right? He just stood there,
There
like,
you go.
you know. And I will say, I have a lady crush on her. She is so nice. She's so articulate. She's beautiful. She is just the whole package.
She's pro-life. And she is so eloquent in how she comes across. And she's very thoughtful. She does care about people's health. And there was a part in that clip where she talks about, you know, that some of our lives are changed and we've lost loved ones. And she's not unsympathetic, but she's so sensible.
And common sense rules the
Yes.
day. You know, I think in North Dakota, we have put forth a bill to kind of limit the executive powers of the president, and it would just nullify everything with these executive orders so that anytime our rights are infringed, North Dakota gets to say no. It went to crossover, so it's not law yet, but South Dakota, I believe, is doing the same thing. And if they are, then they have a chance to say no to whatever Biden's saying about their celebrations. It is our nation's birthday, by the way. We're celebrating freedom. We're not celebrating staying home in handcuffs and face diapers and the like.
Right, let freedom ring, baby. That's
Yeah,
all I have
yes.
to say. We just have to move on. Celebrating, I mean, I can't. He's using a really good date, is my point. He's taking Independence Day for us to prove that we are independent. So if that's what it takes, Biden, we've got this.
Yeah.
And it's a wake-up call. Hello, everybody. Everybody,
Yes.
businesses are moving. They are such, their economy is healthy. We wouldn't need $1.9 trillion if other states operated like they did in South Dakota. But we're going to talk about the cancel culture and being woke, because this is all connected, you know.
It is.
Everything is so connected right now. And we're going to be talking with author and, Noelle Mering is going to talk about the cancel culture and theology of the home when we get back right after these messages with Ladies of Another View on Back.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county.
Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Pub 21, your one stop for fun, drinks, and food. Our spacious facility provides COVID-safe fun for you and all your friends. With nightly bingo and specials, you can be sure there's something to do for everyone. If you're staying in for the night, we've got you covered just across the way with Pub 21 Liquor. We have a wide variety of options, from wine to whiskey and everything in between. Stop in today at 1014 South 12th Street in Bismarck to see what all the buzz is about. You won't be disappointed.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck, and we have joining us Noelle Mering. She is the author of the upcoming book, Awake, Not Woke, A Christian Response to the Cult of Progressive Ideology. Welcome to the show, Noelle.
Thanks so much for having me, ladies.
Well, thanks for coming, because these are hard topics to talk about, and you are a mother of 6 in California, living your life as a Christian, and you write a lot about this topic, and obviously your book is going to be about it, just navigating the culture. And one article that you recently wrote on why Dr. Seuss is important. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Well, it was a story that really struck a nerve with so many people, and I think for good reason. A couple of things that I found were particularly interesting about it was that there's sort of a pattern where, you know, there'll be a cancellation or someone attacked as not being okay any longer, no longer socially acceptable. And then when conservatives respond, then we're sort of portrayed as making up a whole bunch out of nothing. So that was one thing that was interesting. But what I think is also interesting is what's not being attacked, right? So we just had the Grammys this past weekend, and there was, I just won't go into detail, but the most horrific displays of kind of soft pornography for, you know, and primetime television. These things are not threatened on any platform. But then we target something like Dr. Seuss books. So that to me is particularly interesting. But if you understand how the woke operate, it is precisely the wholesomeness of Dr. Seuss books that makes him a likely target. For one thing, it makes you question, well, if there's racism here in something that's our common part of our cultural history, then maybe there's racism everywhere. Secondly, it makes us question ourselves. How did I miss this? What else am I not seeing? It makes us confused and disoriented about our own ability to know what is true and what is just.
One of the problems with the Dr. Seuss books that the other side is arguing is the family made the decision. It's only 6 books, and so they portray us as making a really big deal out of nothing. What would you say to that?
Well, I think that's only part of the story. So critical race theorists have been writing papers criticizing and really trying to dismantle these certain Dr. Seuss books for a long time. And certainly there's something that they're tapping into that's real. I mean, there are, you know, racial depictions in a couple of them, one of an Asian man that was, you know, sort of relying on stereotypes. But these are certainly insensitivities that, you know, now we would never repeat. But but they go far further than that. It really is about trying to make us understand that this sort of evil, you know, they really define the human being on a definition of the evil of society. Whereas, for example, in Judeo-Christian traditional understanding, we define ourselves based on the goodness and the love of God, that we are his creation. The woke do the opposite. We're defined by oppression, either by being victims of it or by being perpetrators of it. So there really is this demand to uncover and to reveal this oppression in all aspects of society. And so it leads to this sort of mercilessness, where someone who lived 100 years ago when cultural norms were different should have been expected to understand 100 years later what would be appropriate and what would be not. And there's not this sort of understanding that, well, who knows what's going to happen 100 years from now? And we want to be looked at with mercy and that we were all trying to do our best at the time that we lived as well. So it really leads to, in the name of justice, sort of a death of mercy for all people, for the sake of not really of truth and of real justice, but of ideology. And I think that's what's important to understand. This is about the power of the ideology. It's not about true justice.
So when I think about that, you said we have to think about what happened 100 years ago or 100 years from now. With social media, we're worried about what happened, what we might have said 2 or 3 years ago, because everything is like instant now. We never had that instantaneous society, and now everything is absolutely instant, and what you might have said a few years ago isn't the same way that you might think now. And that's what's so scary about the whole situation.
Right. And even wasn't there somebody on the hockey team who said something in junior high, and then he lost his college scholarship? It was here in North Dakota, and I don't remember the details. But it was something, but we're seeing a lot of that, like Mary said, where you reach back to what somebody said and they don't feel that way now, and they can say, well, I don't feel that way, and boy, I didn't say that very well, and I would take that back. But it's not good enough now, is it? They still get canceled.
It's really not. And I think it really is sort of this secular whole theology where we don't, there's not an afterlife, so we have to decide who is in heaven and who's in hell in this life, and then here and now. And so there's no actual redemption. We don't have moral norms, so we sort of are relaxed about. We don't have any understanding that we can, restrain ourselves in our sexual conduct, or we can't propose that there's any norms in that realm. But we do still think that there is evil and good in the heart of man. So whereas, in a traditional understanding, we'd say we don't judge another person's heart, but we can say that this action is wrong, this action is fine. They reverse that. So they say we can't judge actions, but we can know who is good and who is bad. And the way we know that is by alliance with the ideology. And so that's why I think this sort of social media, witch hunt is to expose who is on the side of the ideology and who is not. And in that way, we're sort of casting people into this place of being on the right side or the wrong side of history. They say that phrase a lot, which is, roots are very much in a progressive Hegelian understanding of nature. But yeah, it really tends to be merciless and without redemption. And so there's a harshness to it that I think we need to see and be aware of and wary of.
Well, isn't it kind of a slippery slope when we are making judgments against people for actions they did or didn't take, no matter when it was, versus, love the sinner, not the sin?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's actually the opposite. There's a sort of a sense of loving sins or things which traditionally would be considered a sin, and hating people who are, sinners in this new framework where they're not on the right side. They're not woke enough. And even Robin DiAngelo, who's the proponent of white fragility, she'll say, whiteness itself is bad, and you cannot escape your racism, but you have to spend the rest of your life trying to fight against it, knowing you'll never actually be good. You'll never actually be good. So it's really a harsh kind of hate the sinner, love the sin sort of worldview.
And that's just it. We're seeing like there's no redemption. You get canceled, you have no hope, and it almost seems like they're laying traps for people, waiting for them, like Gina, and I'm sorry I don't know her name. She was an actress who was was it The Mandalorian? I'm showing my lack of knowledge. And she was canceled by the Disney Plus or something, and now she's making a movie with a more conservative. I don't know all the details of this, but she just said something pretty simple. But she was being watched, and she said, "Boy, this is almost like in the Third Reich, where neighbors were turning in neighbors, and they said, aha, there she is. Yep. She's a racist." And it's like, no, what she said was pretty mild, but it's almost like a trap. And that's why there's no redemption, because they wanted to get rid of you all along.
Sure seems so.
Right. And you know, about Dr. Seuss, they could have just changed a couple pictures, you know? There was nothing in the wording of the book. They could have just said, oh, like, we don't portray people that way anymore.
Change the art, right. Would have been a
Right.
simpler solution. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
That's too easy. It's easier to make a big splash in the news, you know, because that wouldn't be newsworthy enough. You could have done it without anybody even knowing about
Right.
it. It could have been done in the
Yes.
new books.
But they want to make a big point out of it and get it out there so that they can convince the ones that are weak-minded.
It's feeding the beast. Yeah, there's a hunger
you
for
go.
it, to expose it, to find it and
That's-
expose it.
That's a good way to put it, feeding the beast.
Yes.
I think we're going to
Yes.
use that as a
The
catchphrase
beast.
from now
Yes.
on.
And the beast, tolerance only goes one way. So I want to talk to you about that when we get back, right after these messages on Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
Beck Communications is now hiring independent sales agents around the state. We're looking for highly motivated individuals to take advantage of this opportunity, selling advertising for our news and sports programming on Beck TV and sponsorships for the Bismarck Bucks indoor football team. Independent sales agents will make 50% commission on their completed sales for all products. Beck TV is the leader in broadcasting local sports, owner of the Bismarck Bucks indoor football team, and originator of newly launched news opinion programming. Submit your application now at careers@bechtel.coop. This is an exciting opportunity you can't pass up. 50% commission for independent sales agents now hiring at Beck Communications.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. When you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Ever been in a cave before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the car!
How will we?
The car! Your offer's been accepted. Ever bought a house before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the closing.
But how will we?
The closing!
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York style pizza. We also feature gyros with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View. I'm Beck, and we are joined with Noelle Mering, and she's the author of the upcoming book, Awake Not Woke, A Christian Response to the Cult of Progressive Ideology. And we know it's going to be good because one of the things that I know you've been talking about and writing about lately is that tolerance only seems to go one way. Why is that? And can you describe what the situation is?
Sure. So that's one phenomenon that I think conservatives have been noticing for a long time, is that, there's this, desire to say that we should all be tolerant of each other. And it's sort of this Trojan horse where that under the guise of tolerance, we've all, and compassion, we accept a lot more activity, we normalize a lot more things, but the tolerance only goes in one direction. So there's no tolerance that is coming back to in the direction of the conservative side. And I think people have been confused by that for a long time. And it wasn't until I was researching this new book, Awake Not Woke, that I realized that this is actually not an accident. It's a feature. It's not a bug of the system. So Herbert Marcuse, he was a 60s, he was part of the Frankfurt School. He really formed a lot of 60s radicals like Angela Davis and the Weathermen. He had great and far-reaching influence and was one of the people trying to sort of change the idea of Marxism from being just an economic theory to being a cultural phenomenon, along with other thinkers, obviously. But he was quite influential in this country, and he wrote this famous piece called Repressive Tolerance. And in it, he argues that because under this worldview, all human dynamics come down to fight for power. Because of that, there is no point of having equal time, of having equal dialogue. The goal is to silence opposition, not to have, with critical thinking, which is the traditional Western understanding of education, we give great weight to hearing opposing arguments, even to the point where we want to hear the strongest argument against our position possible, because we want to respond to it and see where, with truth as the goal, we want to arrive at the truth. So we're not afraid of dissent. It's very different for the woke. The point is not truth. The point is power. And so if there is a power structure that is considered dominant, the only way you defeat it is not through dialogue, not through debate, not through argument. It is through a reversal of power. And that has to be done through force and through silencing. And that's why we have cancel culture in many ways. But that's also why we just are not going to ever have a real fair debate where our side will be heard on an equal playing field at this point.
So when something just doesn't sit right with us, with this whole situation, and we get that icky feeling in our stomach and the hairs on our arms stand up, we need to stand up and say something. We need to stomp our feet and put our line in the sand and say we aren't going to take it anymore. But why are the woke considered so blameless?
That's a great question. I go into depth about that in the book. Part of it is because there's, it mimics this ideology. I think we have to understand it preys on goodwill people. So, your neighbor down the street who has kind of gone woke, or people I know, or relatives we have, they are actually doing what they truly think is the work of compassion. But this is not what the ideology is meant to do. It actually will exploit people's compassion. And one of the ways they do that is by this desire ultimately to be considered, innocence is considered dominance to them. The innocent are a power structure because they point to the guilt of the woke. So this is why you see things like transgender story hour, the innocence of children even is an oppressive force in society. So children have to either be exposed to corruption or they have to be introduced to it in some way early on, because their innocence stands in condemnation of the guilt of the others. So I go into great depth about it, and it actually gets really, really dark in a lot of ways. And I don't think people realize that. And I think what you said earlier about we have to stand up when we have that icky feeling is so important, because we are being preyed upon by our desire to be compassionate, which we all want to be. It's the right disposition. However, we don't want to follow a road of compassion that ends in violence and ends in harm for human persons, the very human persons that we're trying to help. And that's the irony of this movement, is that the people it most seeks to empower oftentimes are the people that most get victimized by this, because it's really a weakening of them, and it's not giving them moral agency. And for so many reasons, it's exploitative of women and children because of these strange perspectives on innocence, sexuality, and all these other things. So, I think we need to be aware of what's happening and not afraid, because it really preys on our fear. We're afraid to be called, intolerant. We're afraid to be called that we don't care about justice. We have to understand that these are tactics, and tactics that are trying to erect power for a structure that really will be the demise for our society.
So how do we awaken the people that are searching for the truth, the ones that don't understand the difference between woke and awaken?
And the difference between, isn't that nice, the drag queens are reading to the children.
In the library.
We don't want them to be prejudiced, but oh, Dr. Seuss. And that's kind of the theme of what you're talking about. is here the innocent and the wholesome is being attacked, and then the degrading and immoral is getting a free pass. Like, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we have to have a real understanding of what love means, and that love actually includes truth. It doesn't prevent truth. So, even with the story hour thing, I think people of goodwill will think, well, we're just making these people feel included. No, the point of it is to make normalize for all of us that there is no stable human nature of human persons. In a way, it's an ideological bomb. So I think, how do we do this? I think that's a great question. For one thing, I think that we have to be searching for answers. And those of us who, have kind of maybe gone a little bit further in the search, I think that we have to really be courageous in talking about it in love and talking about it with kindness, but talking about it with courage, because it's really a house of cards. This ideology, it's built on a lot of lies, and a lie is threatened by someone speaking the truth. So, if you're confident that you're searching for the truth, you're not threatened by debate, as we were talking about earlier. This is utterly threatened by debate. It's an ideology that's built on a lie, and it's only sustained by people going along with it. But it's a bit of the emperor has no clothes. We have to be willing to speak out against it and call it out. And know that is actually true compassion and true love for people.
So then how do you see this? I mean, if we keep on the same path that we're going on, where do you see this ending? Like, to me, it almost seems like we're going towards a civil war in a sense. There's just it's two opposite ends. How can we end it? Like, where do you think this is going to go?
I think it won't stop unless we stop it. So I don't think that they have a limiting principle. I don't think there's much that they, much ground that they wouldn't cover. And I think that's a lot of what we've seen over the past year, that this really is a movement that ends in violence. There's a lot of strange ideologies, and, there were churches being attacked, and, defund the police and death to America and all these things. I think people were really wakened up by that and thinking, what this is so strange. This sounds so radical. But, if you understand the ideology, you see this is actually the natural outgrowth of it. To smash the hierarchies, to destroy churches. These are all authority figures, and they want to flatten all of those, the right authority, for the sake of the power of the state. And it sounds like a conspiracy theory, but it really is explicit in all the literature. You can see a thorough line of where this is going. And so unless we, wake up to it and push it back against it, which I have faith that the American people might do, because I think we really have a spirit of, we want to self-govern. We don't want to be taken over by, these sorts of authoritarian regimes, which the woke movement really is quite authoritative. It relies a lot on coercion. But I think we have a natural resistance to it. And so I feel hopeful that people will start to be awakened to this and really, really resist it. And that's what,
I think, in my opinion, I just want to be really quick. I think it starts at the media level. We have got to get a grip on our media. And thank God for channels like Beck. I'm honest about that. I'm not just trying to get a plug there. But thank God that there's finally a place where people can have a voice and voice your opinion. But we've got to get a hold of the big networks, or become the next big network, because things, until we get a hold of the media, things aren't going to change. I don't see it
because
changing.
Everything's being shut down. And like you said, they are afraid of the truth. That is why they get shouted down and shut down. They don't want dialogue. They're afraid of dialogue. Back in the day, free speech, when I was on campus, you would have dialogue and debates. Not anymore, because the truth is going to expose all their lies and manipulation and the evil that's involved. So we're going to leave it there. We'll be picking it up again. This is an ongoing topic.
We will.
It's not going away. But we're going to switch gears with Noelle. We're going to talk about theology of the home and being a mom and making it a beautiful place for you and your family when we come back with Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Howdy folks, it's the Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bussin' breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a cum roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck, and we are still here with Noelle Mering. Thank you for staying with us. We are switching topics though, and in a way it is kind of connected because you've, three moms, have written Theology of the Home 1 and Theology of the Home 2, and they're beautiful books about homemaking and beauty and love. Look at that book. Don't you just want that sitting on your coffee table? As a matter of fact, yeah, I have Theology.
I wonder if they're available to come clean my house. Looks like they got some mad
pictures.
Organization skills going on there.
They've got beautiful photography.
Wow.
I know the first one has 100 photos in it. And look, I have this book. So I'm not just singing your praises. I've got the book too. and it's beautiful. The first one really talks about homemaking. And, well, they both get into it. But the second one talks a lot about mothering and the art of entertaining. But the way that this is actually connected, and there's your website, theologyofthehome.com, and you are appealing to the culture's thirst and natural attraction towards beauty. And so much of, I know one of your chapters is about housewives in the 1950s. And we used to say, isn't that beautiful? And now all of a sudden it's like, no, you don't want to be a housewife. That's horrible. Get away from that. Don't even identify it. So tell me what you're trying to accomplish in these books.
Yeah, the word homemaker we sort of cringe at now, right? So one of the things, one of our main motivations was that we wanted not just to be defending what we believe or what we think, or warding off the onslaught of the culture, but actually going in a way on a positive offense, being proactive, putting forward a vision. And I think women in particular really want to see, they really, I just remember always looking towards women that were older than I was and trying to imagine what my life might be like. I wanted some sort of positive vision for womanhood, but we really have distorted that in so many ways in our culture now, where, like we were talking about in the last segment, it's all about power. So we've defined the purpose of the woman as being to achieve power, to become strong. And women are powerful, but power is not our purpose. Our purpose is the same as all human beings, which is to love, to serve, to be fruitful. And we mean that not just in the biological sense, but even just in this capacity that women have to take people into their thoughts, into their homes, be welcoming, to be receptive, to interact with people, and really this great capacity at developing amazing friendships and sort of transforming people's hearts and the culture through that in that way. Women really have historically been quite key at that, about that personal element of society that is so important. And so I think we've degraded that in large part. And so in creating these books, we really want to create this beautiful vision, not just with our words, but also with the photography that you referenced. So the books are filled with beautiful pictures of homes and families and some organization stuff, but really it's not so much a how-to, but a why. So we're just trying to say, this is a compelling life to live. Home is important. Family is important. These things are basic, but we've come so far from them. But people really naturally in their hearts want these things, and they're built into our souls and into our desires. So just to have some positive vision of how to achieve that was really our goal here.
So women kind of have a special gift to share their hearts way beyond themselves and to promote others in doing so. So there are ways that we've watched our mothers or mothers-in-law do it for us through cooking. You know, they'll always send the extra meal home. They want to make sure that everyone is safe and happy and fulfilled, and they are usually the nurturers of the faith. Is there something in there that we can grab onto in that respect as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even the word nurturing, I think, is an unsung virtue, and as well as the word tenderness. I wrote one section of the second book just about the virtue of tenderness, and I thought, we never think about that word anymore. It sounds sort of saccharine, but even medically, if you think about it, something that's tender is a wound that you only know if you interact with it, you press upon it, you engage with it. And I think that's a beautiful metaphor for just the capacity that we have as women to, engaging with people, understanding where the wounds are, because we are a society that is largely wounded and calloused, and we develop this hard shell. But, really, we want to address what the actual wound is, what the source of these wounds are. And, we've let them run rampant in so many ways by eliminating so many of the protecting measures that would protect women and children in society. I think we can't overlook how important these abilities are to take people into our homes. I had one story about an old friend who she went through a crisis in her family as a child, and this other family took her whole family in for months. And she said that she remembers doing skits in the living room with all that family's kids, and there were warm baths and milk in the refrigerator, and these small things that seemingly small things really just healed this time that was quite scary for a 9-year-old girl to be going through. But that's all the magic that can happen in home and being embraced by a family and into a family life, and to seeing the goodness and the sweetness that's there. And it's not glamorous. It's not like a big big splash out in the world, but these are really crucial things that we've neglected for a long time.
So the whole concept of our show, Ladies of Another View, we used to actually watch The View and then tell the rest of the story, kind of like be the Paul Harvey of it. Well, we stopped watching because we would just get sick to our stomachs. One of the last shows that we watched was when Jill Biden was on, and they were deciding what to call her. She was the first lady, but they didn't know what to call Kamala's husband. Is he the first husband? What is he? And so they were saying that the word ladies is an old-fashioned word. Nobody wants to be a lady anymore. And it's like, that's just unbelievable in that sense, where to be a dignified lady, what is wrong with being a dignified lady nowadays? I think it's something we should be proud of.
That's what I love about your theology of the home. It's okay to be a woman and a lady, and so much in our culture that is shoved down women's throats is you need to be like a man. Well, but we're not
need
men.
To be like those hoes on TV.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry,
the
but
worst
it's like,
version of a woman.
It's like, like no moral compass whatsoever. That gets celebrated, but if you have a nice young lady doing something, it's like, oh my gosh, she's too old-fashioned. She needs to really get with it. That's what's so frustrating in society today.
We need more old-fashioned.
And I think that's what I love about what you and Carrie are doing, is you're going to break through that exterior, that outside shell that has been created that isn't real, and it isn't who we are and wasn't who we were made to be. So there's going to be a natural attraction to beautiful homes and cooking and entertaining and just being with women. When I was in college, It was like in the 70s. So I thought, I don't want to be with the women's groups and all that stuff. But then as I got older, I realized, you know what? I like being with my women friends. Like, why fight it?
We need to
Yeah, and I think
empower
we
one
love
another.
that. We've been given such strange views of it, like you're saying. I mean, the celebration of the nasty girl, or the Taylor Swift, who just has made a career out of breakup songs. We're celebrating our triumph over pain, but we're not talking about why we have that pain and what is actually the solution and the cure and the beauty that we seek. So that's what we really want to portray with Theology of Home.
Awesome. Well, and then so many times women tend to not get along, and I think part of that is because they're so competitive. Because that's a whole nother show in itself. But it's like we need to lift each other up and lift. If you want to be a homemaker, if you want to be a mother, if you want to be a wife, that is exactly what you were designed to be. There's nothing wrong with getting a great career, but you can be whatever you want to be, and don't be looked down upon because you want to be a housewife. All I wanted to be when I was growing up is I wanted to be a mom, and so that needs to be celebrated.
And regardless of what else you might do, you still have that nurturing womanly instincts. Regardless, those don't go away.
I think that women have great potential to be mentors in the workplace. I mean, we're relational wherever, and we carry our womanhood wherever we go. And so really the key becomes not this strict role-based situation where all women have to be a career woman or all women have to be a housewife. No, it's what am I called to? Where am I supposed to use my gifts? Where can I serve people most fully? And really looking at it on a personal level, but not for our own glorification, but in order to be fruitful in the world.
That's very beautifully put.
Absolutely.
That really
Beautifully.
is.
Yeah. So thank you, Noelle, for being here, and take a look at theologyofthehome.com. Many articles and beautiful photographs and books too. And products too. You have a lot of beautiful things for the home. So thank you for coming here on the show today.
Thank you, ladies. Thanks for having me.
It's been a delight. Thank you.
We will be right back after these messages with Ladies of Another View. I'm back.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
Deciding how to promote your business can be hard. Visit the professionals at Dakota Promotions and Printing and let them help you through your struggle. Dakota Promotions provides promotional items and apparel, from corporate gifts to team shirts and everything in between. With quick turnaround times and friendly service, they are your best choice. And best yet, you're shopping local. Visit them online at dakotapromo.com or stop in their showroom at 320 West Main in Mandan. Dakota Promotions, delivering promotions just for you.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Back. I so enjoyed Noelle Mering.
She was very good.
Just delightful.
I know.
And love dwelling on beauty.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
man, instead of the dark and ugly.
And that's what we like to do with the lighter side. We like to bring out the beautiful, the unusual, the humorous. And today I came across some guy who made this unbelievable maze in his backyard. Now, the original tape is almost 3 minutes long, just so you get an idea of how complicated he made this maze. So I got a little bit of it just so you can get an idea.
That is so
Amazing.
much work. I would have loved to have
I
seen the
know.
whole 3 minutes just because I keep thinking that guy just put so much time into setting it up to have it over with in just 3 minutes.
Let's add that, put it on our Facebook page so we can watch the whole thing.
Great idea.
I
and
will
our
do
viewers
that.
can watch it.
I found it on Facebook, and that's the video is just on his Facebook page.
How
It's amazing.
creative. That's amazing.
I heard you say no way, and that's what I felt like, and that's why I thought this gives you a taste. It just went on and on and on like that.
That's like setting up those whole gymnasiums full of dominoes and having them do all of those patterns and having it being over in 30 seconds, and then it took you how many hours? 24 hours to set it all up. I don't know that I'd have the patience.
I think it's 100 times more complicated though than the dominoes.
yes.
When you think about all these random things, a skateboard, a cooler, or a thermos.
Used everything he had at home.
Right, and that's the nice, when you use your own ingenuity and you think of these things and you get outside, you get out of the house, you get off your electronics and you go out and just
Yes.
play and invent things. That's the fun thing about it. We used to do that as kids. We'd go into Dad's shop and just take whatever we could and try to make things. And I think kids are kind of falling away from making things anymore.
Oh, they're afraid of a lot of things, don't you think?
Well, and that's true because I raised my kids differently than what I was raised, and I'll be honest about that. I mean, we say that there's 6 kids. I always say there might have been 8 or 10 of us, but only 6 of us survived. And that's the honest to God's truth, because we were outside from sun up to sundown, and we were sliding off barn roofs. I mean, you're supposed to stay away from that electrical wire because it'll zap you, but we knew those things, and you learn by doing, and that's the nice thing about ingenuity, and you just getting things done.
You only put your wet tongue on a flagpole in wintertime one time.
One time.
I'm glad I never did. Did you actually do it?
No, I did not, but survival of the fittest, there is some common law that happens out there.
Well, I have a little scar right in between my eyes. I was so high up in the tree that it was swaying in the wind, and I loved it. We used to have a little woods behind our first house. And you're right, Mary. Like, I don't know about you too, Jan. Nobody knew. We just were let out.
Yes.
Come home
when the
for
street
lunch,
lights
and
come
when the
on.
street lights were on, and everybody came in. If the street lights were on, then everybody came home. But there were neighborhoods full of kids, and you just, I loved to climb trees, and I look back and think, I was up pretty high. I could look over the houses off to the side, and
Well, I can remember I stole my sister's bike, and I wasn't very old, and back then we just had a boy's bike with the bar across, and I couldn't get on it. I had to get on a big rock to get on the bike, and I fell over, and my tooth went right through my lip.
Oh.
And it's like, and I couldn't even tell my mom, and of course she had to have seen it, but never asked me what happened. And it's like, and my tooth actually went through my whole lip, and now I have a scar there, which is a wrinkle. I'll say it's a scar. But anyway, I can see it now that I never be able to see that. But I was afraid to tell anyone because you were doing something you weren't supposed to. Well, that was half of my growing up life. We were doing things we probably weren't highly recommended, shall we say?
Oh, we had the high trees in our backyard when I was really young too. And there was somebody that was coming to pick up my sister and I to go for the day or whatever. And we went and hid up in the trees. And then when they called us, we wouldn't answer them and they couldn't find us. So it was awesome.
We really were independent as kids for the most part. I know one time my brother and I came home filthy dirty because we used to, everybody would burn trash. You had a big trash barrel and you'd put like certain things in and you would burn. So we had the idea of pushing each other. There was one that was abandoned somewhere. So we took turns going inside and we would roll. The person on the inside would roll. But can you imagine how dirty
you were?
Patty,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. I remember, I mean, sometimes my mom would get mad at us, but she didn't, I don't know, she didn't get mad at us that day. She was pretty tolerant, as filthy as we were.
I think our parents were pretty patient. You know, when we left in the morning, we went out to play, went to the park, or took off somewhere on our bikes. If we didn't get home in time for lunch, you didn't get lunch. If you didn't make it home in time for supper, you missed out.
Right. Well, they actually had it pretty quiet in their houses while we were gone. Well, thanks for joining us, and we will be back again tomorrow with another exciting Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Bye.